Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Shmindle Shmumlimited, the podcast for reviews, rants, and ramblings about books from our very favorite way to get books, the Kindle Unlimited universe. I'm one of your hosts, Amity.
And I'm Lauren.
And I'm Steph. And this week we read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. It was our first romantic fantasy book.
Romantasy.
So, but before we get into the book, our one book, we're gonna recap our week. What is everybody reading? How has your week been? What's been going on?
It's been an interesting couple of weeks down here in Florida for us.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Mom rescheduled a bunch of patients. Power went out at the office yesterday. It's been an ordeal.
Yeah, same here. I went to school last week. I didn't go to school at all. This week we have fall breaks. We didn't have school Thursday, Friday, and Monday I come into school. We lost power for an hour and a half. Wednesday I came to school. We lost power for an hour and a half. It's really fun with 7 and 8-year-olds and no power.
Nice.
So.
I saw 4 patients in the dark using my phone yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, I'm going to go to the hospital to reschedule.
I have flashlights, so all the kids had flashlights.
I was seeing people in my office because I actually windows there. And
Oh.
the patient rooms don't. I'm like, welcome to the office.
Wow. So
That's so funny. I didn't even think about offices at doctors' offices, but
Yeah. It's exciting.
Amity, how is your first fall?
You guys, I'm obsessed with fall. I love it so much. I read a lot of this book in particular sitting outside, in the sunshine on the porch with a sweatshirt on and leggings and warm socks. And the dogs were there just happy because it's not hot. I'm obsessed with fall. And then I needed a palate cleanse a little bit after I finished this book. So I started The Roommate Situation, and it's cute. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Katie Bailey. I was like, I think it's by our friend Katie Bailey. Yeah, it's by Katie Bailey, and it's cute so far. And after how big this book was to read, for 40 minutes and get to 25%, I'm like, oh yeah, this is much more.
Instead of 2 hours, I'm at 5%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've been watching yesterday specifically, I folded a lot of laundry. I did everybody in the house's laundry and I folded it all. And so I was watching a movie. And did you guys know, because I did not know, and maybe it's just me, that, we're big fans of the KU universe, that Amazon Prime Video, they have a bunch of cheesy little Hallmark Network style movies.
Where do I find these?
Yeah.
On Amazon Prime, Prime Video. I streamed them from my TV. So I watched one yesterday. It was so cheesy. It was called A Snapshot of Forever. And the premise is this little local winery in St. Gorgeous, I think was the name of or maybe St. Generous, something like that. California is a family business, but on the brink of just being such a wedding destination. And it's simultaneous, somehow run by just the mom and dad and the 2 daughters. The one daughter is trying to convince the mom that she can do it. She's so responsible. She can run the event production aspect of the winery. And the story follows her sister, who's the wedding photographer, and the brother of the bride, who is a movie star. He's on a firefighting TV show. And it was so cheesy.
But
it was I couldn't. It was so cheesy. It was the perfect little palate cleanser type. If you want to start a movie that you can walk away and move laundry around and come back and absolutely nothing has happened, that's unsurprising. It was exactly that. And so, but there are a million of them. I mean, not a million, that's a big exaggeration, but there were a lot of them. Afterwards was recommended. There was some girl, like the premise was like somebody who inherited a sailboat and hires somebody to like help her rebuild it. There's another one where it's like this small town chocolatier loses her partner for this like very important chocolate contest. And so this single dad who's the like only construction worker in the small town, who also needs help, like, because the small town is hosting this chocolate contest. So they team up and he's going to be on her chocolate making team and she's going to help him build the signage or something. It's like, they're so cheesy. They're like, that I was like, these are the books that I enjoy, but movie form. But it was
Movie
a
version.
whole collection of them. I had no idea this existed on Prime Video. I'm not surprised because it's, so much of what's on the KU universe. But I was like, I need to, like, PSA, public service announcement. Everyone needs to be aware that
Be
these are out
watching
there.
this. Yeah, I've actually not been reading as much because Netflix has decided to like drop all these new shows. So I've been like binging all Netflix. Like I watched The Perfect Couple, which is a book. I watched Nobody Wants This, Love is Blind, Lincoln Lawyer's on there. So I've just been binging Netflix.
There you go. One good thing a hurricane allows lots of reading time.
Yes, that is true.
Lots of reading time.
Yeah. So,
well, this book we just read took a lot of reading time. So let's
get
into it.
Lots and lots of world building. So let's start with a little bit of background that hopefully will help us like, muddle our way through this summary. So
we start with introducing and saying all the name things the way we read it, and then seeing how we are. So it turns out there's a pronunciation gate. I will say that I think this is a book that would have been read easier in book form than Kindle form.
Yes, yeah. I agree.
And you can flip back and forth to the pronunciations.
Yes.
I just learned right now while we were getting ready to record that there was a pronunciation guide.
Yeah. So should I start with introducing the creators?
Sure.
All right. So we have 5 creators and of this world. Claude is the goddess of air. Boulder.
How do we say it?
How do we say
Claude? Claude. Oh, I'm pulling it up. Hold on. It's always at the very back of it. So
pronunciation guide.
They don't do Claude, so I guess it is Claude.
Claude.
Oh, wow.
All right. Boulder is the god of ground. Rain, god of water. Ignos, I'm assuming I said that correctly, god of fire. And Kalis?
His is not on there.
Okay, we're going to go with it. He is the god of ether. He is the god that made the moons fall. The moons are dragons that have passed, and then they turn to stone and float up into the sky, and that is how they have all of their moons. But then one day they all started falling. So the other 4 creators had to essentially lock Kalis in
to an aether and stone.
Well, he is the god of ether. I think that's how you say it. And they kind of locked him in a stone of some sort so that the moons would stop falling. There are also different types of dragons because there are 3 different areas of this world. There is the Fade, the Shade, and the Burn. Molten Maws are dragons of the Fade. Moon Plumes are dragons of the Shade, which is a very cold climate. And Saber Sice are dragons of the Burn, which is very hot, harsh, lots of sun in that area.
I said that Saber Sith. But
Saber Sith? What is that?
They do not have that one. It's more the characters.
Saber Sith. All right, we'll go with it.
No, I like Scythes better now that you say it that way. I pictured these as a cat every time because like tiger, like that's just I knew they weren't that, but they were like dragons with fur and ears.
Yes, I think they had that to protect them from the sun, whereas the moon plumes like reminded me more like they had the skin like a bat kind of.
They were like kind of pink and cloud-like because you're called a moon plume. Like you're
I know.
The Lorax and Dr. Seuss and just so cute. And
I think it was hard to picture dragons as moon plumes. Like
yeah, because I mean you go from Fourth Wing where these dragons are just gonna rip your face off. They don't care who you are. And these like this one, they sound so sweet.
That is so nice.
I know. All right, Steph, shall we get into the summary?
Yes. So, okay, so we meet So we at the first chapter I said rave.
I said
I thought
Ravy.
Rave.
And it's Ravy.
Oh, Ravy. Good job, Andy.
Yeah, so
Yay.
Ravy. And
She's a badass.
yeah, she's going into a club half covered.
Like she has something on her covering half of her face.
So nobody can really see her face. And she is something that they call a null.
I mean, she has no magical powers. She doesn't have any powers from the creators.
Yes.
Like, sort of.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's going into a club to sing, but it's in her point of view. So she's going for ulterior motive because she's an assassin. So she's like hired to kill somebody. And she's trying to find somebody. You don't know who at the beginning. And so, but she's going into this club to sing a song.
Yeah.
But what she's trying to do is lure this person that she's going to kill. And so.
Which she does successfully.
Yes, she's very good at her job.
And you do find out that she does have an element. She hears Claude's song.
Claude.
Yes. Sorry, Clyde.
Claude. So she essentially lures this guy. He follows her. And she ends up killing him because she is a really good assassin. She's really good at what she does. And she essentially uses Claude, who is the god of air, to suck all of the air out of his lungs. And then she shoves him off the wall.
Yeah. And then you come to find out that she lives in the shade.
In basically the slums.
Yeah, in the slums. And it was Undercity.
Yeah. It was interesting how she got to her house. She had to climb down a cliff and swing herself into her house.
Yes.
While she's killing this guy, someone's following her. So that is something important to come back to later.
Somebody she sees somebody who's watching her when she's singing
and then he follows out and
yeah. But also, one of the workers at the club follows her to make sure she gets home okay, and
offers to her.
Yeah, and asks for her number to make sure she's okay or where she lives and stuff like that. And she's like, "Okay, I can trust you." So,
but unfortunately, that person wasn't so nice.
Yes, exactly. I didn't put this. She gets summoned by her worker, and so who tells her straight up, there's the people who are in charge of her, the shade, are looking for her.
There is a bounty.
There's a bounty
out
for
to
her.
Find her.
Yes.
And the leader of basically kind of the resistance that Reeve works for kind of has power over her.
Yeah, owns her. It was weird.
Owns her. She has a necklace.
Yeah.
Where Reeve had to put her blood in to be saved at some point in her existence. And she now has full control over Reeve and can kill her. I think she can kill her somehow. She can do something very bad to her.
Yeah, so the Reeve has to listen to her. And so she has to kind of go into hiding. So she has to go grocery shopping.
So that part was never really mentioned again.
Yes, the whole necklace thing.
Right.
Yeah, not really. I feel in later books it might come up somehow. Not really sure.
Yeah, or if it's just gonna get kind of
But Reeve ends up going home to hide out, and she lives with her friend Essie. Who Essie, they make her out to be just this pure soul.
Yes,
this is kind, very sweet,
and she gets to go to the grocery store. And
she gives Ravy a list of I need these things. And Ravy's great, I'm going to get them. You don't get them. And so she goes out and gets things and comes back and she forgot something. And all of these things were to make some sort of armor or something.
It was a protection bead of some sort.
Yeah.
Token.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totem. And she's just very sweet and says such nice things to Ravy. And Ravy's stop saying nice things about me.
She doesn't do well with
compliments,
love,
cuddles.
Yeah. Well, she very much believes in it in her experience that if something gets close to her, it gets killed.
Yes. So she doesn't want anybody to get close to her.
And in her defense, that is what happens to Effie. She
Yeah.
comes home stabbed, and dies. So it turns out the other singer at the club had given Reeve a like, here's my
Tracking
information, and
device.
it led
Right to her.
them
Yeah.
right to Reeve and Essie. So the bad guy, Rek, is that how you say his name?
Reek?
Reek? I mean, he does reek.
Reek, like Reck.
Okay.
Okay.
He's terrible. He killed Essie to lure out Reeve.
Yes.
And Reeve just goes
Crazy.
fucking crazy. She's awesome. She sucks the air out of like 20 guys' lungs. And then it turns out she like moved the ground. So there's a little bit of boulder, which she didn't know she could do. She ends up biting off
his finger in her teeth and like keeps it there.
Because she had turned into the other.
Oh.
Like she turns into,
like she's got like her killing persona.
yes, it's like this other being takes over. So we don't exactly know what that is at this point. She ends up in jail.
Yes.
Terrible, terrible jail. And that is where the guy that was following her when she killed the initial guy shows up.
Yeah, and she meets him.
That is Khan.
Yeah, and thinks she knows Khan is in these three worlds. They're owned by three brothers. Worlds or lands or whatever.
So the King of the Fade is Tyroth. King of the Shade is Kadok. I think I'm saying that right. And King of the Burn is Khan.
Yes. And Reeve lives in the Shade, and the king of that one is a terrible person.
Yes.
Who does terrible things to his people, hence the rebellion.
He steals the children who have powers and puts them in like training camps.
Militaries.
And the gnolls, if the child is determined to not have powers, they take this like chunk out of their ears
to show
that they tag them like an animal.
I know.
Yeah. And so she just assumes that all the brothers are evil like this.
Yes.
So when she sees this one brother, she automatically wants to kill him because she wants to kill his brother.
Yes.
So.
But this world, they put Reeve on trial.
Yes.
They essentially put her on trial and take her out to the dragons to be eaten. But a very important saber scythe comes and
picks her up
in the mouth, makes it look like he ate her, and then flies off.
Yes. And this is where I found it so funny because it's her point of view. And she thinks she's about to feed her to his youth. She's like
to the baby dragon.
To the baby dragons.
Yes.
And I was dying.
No, he ends up spitting her out. She's covered in saliva.
Yeah.
She smells terrible. And
this
on feet.
This book took sweet time at the beginning, having anything progress. Like, I want to say there was 4 or 5 pages of her just in this dragon's mouth talking about like the fire at the back of the throat. Oh, slumped around, feel like I went left. Whoop, now I went right. Like it was the first, I would say the first 35% of this book. And this is right at like 34% that this happens. I fell asleep so many times reading.
It was hard to get through the first 40%.
Yeah,
I will say, I did feel like I was inside of a dragon's mouth. I'll give him that.
I was like, okay, well, and I think going from place to place takes a few days, from my understanding.
Oh, these are far away.
Yes, or auroras.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh yeah, I couldn't quite understand the
aurora rising, aurora.
Yes. So
I just assumed it was a day.
Day spelled D-A-E.
Yes. They end up getting on the back of the dragon that she was in its mouth, and they end up.
Okay, this is where I got confused.
Okay.
So this is where my summary gets like, and you can explain this better. They're in like, I pictured a cave of some sort.
So it's been a little bit of time since I read this book. So
they're in like his house or something.
So it was, I think, so that was it was his mother's like getaway house, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was like all wonky.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Strange.
It was still a house. Like
it was very much a house because this was where she was like, he's going to kill me. But also it's customary in this culture to give something before you go inside someone's home. And I don't have any gifts with me. And he's like, how about you give me your name? And then she was in, and she's just like the kindest little assassin.
Oh yes.
But she is like not locked up, but she's like
she
tied up.
has iron Okay, so an important detail, if they have like iron on them, it
They
takes
can't
away
with
their
their
power.
powers. Yeah, I
So
understand
when
that.
she was in the jail, she had an iron nail shot like into her shoulder.
Yes, yes. And he had to help her get it
He
out.
took it out, healed her somehow, and now she has iron like handcuffs on.
Yes. Okay, I
And I
understand
think the
that.
iron dims it, like dims
Like,
how well they can hear the voices,
I think it can like
depending on
completely
how much
take
of you it
away.
has. Well, because at
Yeah.
one point she talked about putting on her iron ring so she
Yeah.
could tone out Rain,
Claude,
I think, or somebody,
one of
like
them.
just to hear one of them.
Yes, because she was hearing both of
So
them.
like
Yeah.
just a little ring, just a little bit touching me so I can, only hear what I want to hear.
Yeah. So they're in this house thing. I thought it was a cave, but this thing
The house. She ends up escaping. She uses one of his dragon scales that fell off to like
to like get out. And then she like straddles him. Well, before that, they kind of have soup and they have this like cute moment where they laugh and
there's
she's like
sexual tension
yeah.
there.
And she like feels like she knows him, but she like doesn't want to realize it, sort of thing. Like there's a familiarity of some sort. But she does able to escape and she's like straddling him right about it to kill him. And then she like can't.
She can't kill him.
She can't kill him and she like doesn't know why.
Then she somehow like escapes out the window.
Yes.
And then she
Well, because I think she tries to like she like tries to kiss him and he's like, no.
true.
No,
Yeah.
they do some hand stuff. And then
He
she's
like
like, what if we had full sex? And he's like, not unless it means something. She's like, this doesn't mean anything. And so he just like was like, well, that's that, and stands up. And she's like, wow.
and she's like so embarrassed.
Right, like
Right, now I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's like so embarrassed. She's like, I'm piecing out. And she goes to a river
She goes up to the room again and then she sneaks out the window.
and
And then she ends up kind of like falling in a river and
Yes.
getting washed down it. And then she like
ends up at this tribe.
yes, ends up at this tribe and they are
I didn't put the name of the tribe because there was no way.
doesn't matter. But what's important is the cat-like creature
Yes.
that is fulfilling this prophecy that the cat-like creature is going to find them their deity, basically, and it chooses Reeve.
Yeah. This
like
was
the fate weaver.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
This was the most random thing I've ever experienced in a book. First of all,
Yeah.
I did not know it was a cat-like figure. I don't know why.
I
I
described
knew
it like at the end of this, like
yeah,
this.
I pictured a giant crane, like a giant bird, just like
Oh.
because of the way it was like pecking at her and like
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was like
growling.
a giant cat-like thing, I believe.
Right.
They end up having two warriors in this tribe fight for Reeve's hand in marriage, essentially.
And once one of them wins, they just like go in the back room and impregnate
And they
her.
win by
And-
beheading each
Oh.
other.
Yes, they have to behead the person. So Reeve's like, fuck this. I'm gonna fight for myself.
Yeah,
So-
she asked the tribe, and they're like, well, if the cat fate weaver says it's fine, YOLO.
fine. And so she,
Cat Weaver's in the crowd just watching. Like
no, yeah, it's like off to the side, just doing its thing. So she ends up fighting, and
Playing
the
with the
guy,
head, probably.
yeah,
the guy she's fighting ends up like
picking a snake.
cheating
Yes,
and has it like throws a snake out that bites her that no one else sees. And she's like
Secret pocket snake.
snake.
slippery snake. Anyone else remember that YouTube video?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's just me and Dan. It's fine. But then Khan ends up showing up and fighting for her honor and kind of saying, like, if I win,
If I die, she's good. She's gonna go be independent.
Yes.
But if I win, like he gives her
So they have to like give their necklace that has their emblem on it.
okay.
But he, of course, ends up winning,
Yeah.
and they go off back to where they need to go.
So they go back to the burn where he's from. But she's like super badly injured.
She is. They end up back at the burn, and like it's very bright. You have to have a visor, like it's gonna blind you if you're not from there. But they get there, and he walks into his castle and is like, "I need someone to heal her," and his sister is there. And
She's like really mean to her. It's
Well,
her name's there.
yeah, so the sister's name is Bea, and the first thing she says to her brother essentially is like, "What is Elian doing here?"
Yes. And so this is where things started clicking for me.
Because
So
scattered
sprinkled
throughout,
throughout. Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
sprinkled throughout are these diary entries from Elian, who is a princess of the Shade from we learned like 100 years ago.
Yes. And in the diary entries, it's her and her brother and
Her
her
parents,
parents, and they have a great childhood, except her brother and one day wants, well, her brother really wants a dragon,
a moon plume,
a moon plume.
because they're from the really cold region.
Yes. And so one day he like escapes to go like get an egg, and in this whole thing he gets injured. And injured's actually a moon plume too.
Yes. But she ends up like getting her own moon plume in the process and
Yes.
saves her brother.
And they're really close, her and her moon plume.
But her family ends up all dying.
Yes. And so, well, what happens is the king of the Shade region comes to her parents and was like, we want Elian to marry our son. And the father's like, no, your son's evil. And so the king's like, fine, I'm going to just
I'll wait him out until
yeah.
they're dead.
Yeah, and so he poisons the whole family. So these diary entries are happening in between. And so you meet what's her name?
Vea.
Vea.
That is Khan's sister.
And it's Khan's sister. And she is really, she's like not a fan of
She's like, this girl again?
And so, but what's weird is Ravi wakes up and they're having this like banter back and forth, the sister and her, and she calls her by her first name and she doesn't know how she knows it.
Yeah.
And
things
she's
are coming
like,
back to her.
A name I have. Yeah. Like,
and yeah, this is where things started clicking for me. And I was like, oh.
Because Elian, after her parents died, was sent to the Fade. So like things are coming back to her.
Yeah.
So we kind of at this point put together that Revi is Elian. She just doesn't know it.
Yes.
And I think she knows it, but doesn't want to know it. So she's ignoring it.
Yeah, because she's getting all these random memories throughout, and she like wakes up in a sweat or these dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Rain, the god that she can hear, I think is both the god of water and also tears.
Yeah, because water.
Yeah. So I think she just is like, oh, have I been summoned to bring you feelings? And she's like, no, but she just cries anyways.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one where it's raining and she just has a full-on
meltdown.
Fucking breakdown. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That was very, very sad.
But she explores the town where the burn is, and she's like, wow, this is like these people are different.
They're actually treated well.
Yes.
They have a decent life. So she sees that Khan's really a good person.
A good person. And she like brings it up to him. She was really she was like, why aren't you punishing your brother for how he's treating people? Like, you realize this is what he's doing to his people. You realize this is happening. And Khan is just like, I am not going to kill my innocent people to start a war with my brother.
Yeah. It was like a really valid point. Like, like
yeah.
I'm saving who I can because I will do more harm than good if I attack. Like, my brothers are being dicks and amassing these giant armies.
Yeah. And I'm not going to put my people through that.
Yeah.
So then Khan was like, I need to show you something. And this is where I was just like, what?
So he ends up walking her down to like this underground
tunnel
that is off of his bedroom, number one. And they get down there and it's like this giant ball thing. And she gets closer and it's a dragon. It's a moon. And
it's hollow.
It's hot. Yes. Like there is a portion there where like someone could have fit.
Could be anybody. Nobody knows.
This moon happened to fall from the sky like 20 something years ago. And he, in that time, has been finding all of these pieces that shattered and putting the moon back together. And it is Elian's dragon.
Yes.
And this is kind of the point where he's trying to tell her, like, you are Elian.
And yeah, she does. And she doesn't want to realize it. She's like, which in her defense, like she's like an assassin. She has no idea what's going on. She wanted to kill this guy. And now he's telling her that like, oh, I loved you and you're the long lost love of my life. And I don't know, she's just been through so much, and I would do the same thing. Like she like runs away. She's like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
I think she actually starts drinking, which probably I would have done too.
So
and she also still wants to go kill that rake guy.
Yes.
To avenge Elsie's death.
Yes.
Pretty sure I got both of those names wrong, but close.
Another important detail here is Bea leaves to go find Elian's diary.
Yes.
So she is off to the shade.
And she doesn't get along with her brother, so she's like not invited there. So it's not like a good
she's
like sneaking in.
Sneaky. And she like, how does she disguises herself as a maid who happens to be involved with the brother.
Yes, who's carrying her brother's
She didn't know that when she started.
She didn't.
No, she didn't.
So she does not initially find the diary where she like thought it was gonna be, but then she ends up finding it like underneath the bed where
and so she starts like reading it. And then Rave goes to the forest, but she keeps having these like memories of Khan in bed and then she starts writing in a diary.
She does. And there is this like house on the edge of the fade that she ends up staying in.
Little love nest.
It meant a lot to Elian and Khan back in the day.
I do think like when she's writing in her diary, she's like writing about this like fear of love and how everybody she loves dies. And she also writes like she doesn't know if I think this is where she realized what's her name? Elian. She realized that she is Elian, but she's like, I'm a new person too. And she goes, I think Khan's in love with the former version of me, not the new version of me. And then there's this random celebration.
Oh, it's like some celebration that they have every year.
Yeah, where the dragons just all mate with each other and make new dragons. And all the people mate with each other and make new people.
Hey, it sounds like a party.
And they're just like celebrating. So Khan invites her and
dancing, and it's very sweet.
It's masked, and that was fun.
Yes, a little mess. But it's funny because she plays this game and then they end up playing a game together. And he was like, if I win, you have to answer 3 questions. But if she wins, she's like, we'll be a couple for one night and then I want you to erase you from my memory.
Yeah.
Which is a little sad.
She was going to have this person in town with power just erase all of her memory.
Yeah. And so she can go back to
He clearly didn't want that to happen.
But she wins.
But
I think she wanted.
Yeah, she won like something, and then that's right. And then they went to their one night, and he was like, "Now you can't finish until you do the thing for me."
Yes. Yes, because she wanted one wish, and he was like, "What's your?" And so he makes the wish like her finishing or something.
Yeah. You have to trade me for it, and now you can't go get your mind erased.
Yeah. And then after all of this, it just happens that the person she wants to kill falls in her lap.
Literally like from the sky.
Yeah, from the sky on a moon plume. Like this guy is a jackass and basically killed that dragon because he didn't bring someone with the power to make a cloud over the dragon. So it's like all burned and
the poor dragon. That's why I was so sad.
And Reeve like comes and helps nurse this dragon back to health, and
I thought they were like gonna bond.
Yes, I did too. But
this was gonna be her new dragon.
Yeah, this one I thought was so weird. Okay, so
and we are also at this point we're at like, I don't know, 87%.
Yeah, like we're pretty far.
We've got a little bit of ways left, and then a ton starts happening.
Yes, out of nowhere.
It turns out that Reek is searching for Princess Kaisari, who is the daughter of the king of the Shade. No, the king of the Shade.
And then we learn simultaneously through the diary that Kairazi is actually Khan and Elian Ravi's daughter.
Yes, but Khan doesn't know that.
Khan has no idea.
No one knows that.
No.
Except for Elian.
Yes.
And Vea. because she reads the
Reads
diary,
the
she
diary.
finds it, and then Ravi is able to kill Reek Wreck.
She becomes the other,
Yes.
which for the longest time during this book, I was like, what is the other? I thought it was Salus, the ether god. I am convinced that it is her moon plume that died for her.
Oh, and it's like,
See, I wonder if the other is almost like part of some sort of like bloodlust she has to feed because she died and has been reborn.
So there was a
oh,
specific point in that passage, I don't remember word for word, where it made it seem like it was her dragon that died for her.
yeah. So they don't really explain like, yeah, here, she'll look for it. They don't really explain like how this all happened or Ravi's past or anything, or I don't understand how her dragon died either.
So
Her dragon brought her up.
yes, because she basically was like dying during childbirth. Like she gave birth to the baby and was dying, and her dragon's like, I'm not gonna live without you, and basically just wrapped around her and went up into the sky.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that makes sense. And
Because some like I think I can't remember if it was Vea or in the diary, but like because the parents were both so powerful, the transfer of the power to the child or the child's just so powerful inside that it like kills the wife.
oh,
Not necessarily the wife, but it kills the mom.
mom. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did they finish this out?
So they finish it with her becoming the other, and then Vea finds the diary, and then so then the last chapter is from the point of the view of the daughter
Mm-hmm.
who
She's trying to
in
escape her
hiding.
father
Yeah,
because her
she's
father
hiding.
is terrible.
Her not
Yeah.
father.
Not her real father.
The man who raised her and thinks is her father.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it ends.
And then
And
that's it. We have to wait for book 2 until like forever.
Yeah.
I was
In
so
October
frustrated.
2025.
Yeah.
And it ended at 95%, which was, I
Yeah.
think, added to the frustration because it was like, thank you for reading my book. And I was like, thanks for ending. What?
I need more.
But like, I still had 5% more. We could have figured some stuff out. And it's not really like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like, some books leave off on a cliffhanger and you're like, I have to know what happens because somebody's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like in peril or something like that. I didn't feel that way about this. Like I feel like all of the characters are fine at the moment. Like nobody's in grave danger. There's just a lot of questions I want answered.
Yes.
This is a long book. And I don't know about you guys, but as I was reading this book, do you ever read books? And we've read one before. I want to say like Love Redesigned or whatever. The one that had or Love Unfinished, I don't know, that had the Spanish in it, but then the translations were at the end.
Yeah.
Sometimes there would be something long and I'd be like, I don't know what they're saying. I felt that way through a lot of this book. And
Like that was probably important, but I don't know what it means.
Yes.
right. And it was a difficult read. I enjoyed it, but like it certainly wasn't I can read at night in my bed falling asleep. Like I had to be focused on this book to figure out what was happening because it's, a third of in Latin or whatever. Like it was not,
Yeah.
I had to
I need
focus
a
hard. Like I don't know.
I needed a pictograph or Pictionary, like
Yeah.
Pictionary dictionary to help me figure out.
And I think that's where if we had the hard copy and you could flip back and forth to
Yes.
the index, that would be very helpful. So maybe this isn't the greatest book to read on Kindle.
Yeah.
And
I was
that's
also
okay.
reading,
Yeah.
I started it because we had lost internet when I started it and I hadn't downloaded it yet on my Kindle, but I had it on my phone. So I started it on my phone and it's already so tiny that I didn't
Yes.
understand so I was confused but once I switched it over to my Kindle, I understood it a little bit better.
Mhm.
Well, plus then you're holding the phone. So if you're like bored for an eighth of a second, you're like, the rest of the internet's here too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
So the second book is called The Ballad of Falling Dragons, and it comes out October 2025.
Yeah, it comes out so like in a
So
year.
far from now. When did this one come out?
This one came out
Recently, actually,
hang tight, I can tell you, April.
2024.
And it
Okay.
is 576 pages. So it is
It felt it. It felt it.
yeah. I enjoyed this book. I don't think it quite got to the Fourth Wing level,
I
but
think some of that is there was definitely like unnecessary complication with the world building.
it
Yeah.
took a lot of concentration to keep it
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah. It definitely is I think I wish I had like the entire series.
Yeah.
Because like once but like also talking this through helped me immensely.
Like even like I still so for example, do you ever hang out with people who are dog people, but they only refer to the dogs by their like breed name and not just like dogs, like Maltese, Shar other dog breed like and people bring up dog breed names. Maybe it's just me, but like people bring up dog breed names. I'm like, I have never heard of a Cavalabala or whatever before. Like it's just dog, small white dog. Like okay,
That's how I
like
am with cats. And I'm like, they're all just cats. I
yeah,
don't
don't even get me started. I don't know. I picked dogs because I could at least come up with a few dogs.
Types of
Like
dogs.
I cats. You just have black ones, orangey ones, white ones. But like we didn't necessarily need the breed of dragon, that it was a moon plume or a saber scythe. Like it was a dragon from the shade, a dragon from the burn or whatever. Like I feel like you could have simplified it a little bit. Like this was collegiate reading level,
Yes.
and I don't want to use collegiate reading level brain.
Yeah. But it's so funny because I wonder, I've not read the Harry Potter books, but I've watched the movies.
I
I'm
can't believe I'm
sorry.
your friend. I know.
What?
I watched the movies.
Amity, we really need to rethink this.
I actually read the first two books.
Oh,
Remember,
guess what? We're reviewing book 3 next. Okay.
yeah, I didn't like start reading aggressive like at all until I was in sixth grade. So it took me a while to get it to
You're
become
also trilingual, so
yes. So
We'll
yeah.
slide.
So I wonder if like when kids in elementary school read Harry Potter, do they have this much difficulty? Like, but because of the movies, you can kind of imagine it more.
so I remember reading Harry Potter before the movies came out. And
I
like
don't remember having a problem. I'm like in the first grade reading the first Harry Potter book.
Okay.
I was older than you because I was basically Harry's age, like as the books came out.
Yeah.
And so like this was middle school me about Hermione and Cyrus. And then like, we were like, oh wow, it's Hermione. And like, and talking through it, like having the same conversation like we did today. Like, oh, that's how you say that name. That's how you pictured that. And that was fun.
I also think back then people talked more about books where like nowadays
it shows movies.
Movies, yeah, exactly. You don't really talk about what you're reading unless you're a huge advocate for read books.
Like us.
But we started talking about books because we did the podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guess you talk to other people about like, hey, what have you read?
Yeah.
But how much fun is it when you find somebody who
I know it's so much fun finding your nerd book friends and you're just like, wait, you love this?
Well, especially if it was either a book good enough that you remember the plot points or a book that you've read recently enough that you remember the plot points. Like Seven Husbands of 11 of 11 Hugo of Evelyn Hugo, and like, oh yes, you read that too. What did you think? You loved it. What did you think about like this major spoiler? Like, oh my gosh, yes, wow, so surprised. Blah blah blah. Like,
I did call Amity while I was reading this book because I don't know your work schedule and I know Amity's work schedule.
Basically, I work all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I did call Amity a lot during this book, being like, can you explain how so and so is happening? And this was definitely a book where like you have to talk throughout the book to kind of understand. Like this is a talking book.
I
And
think
I wonder, Harry Potter was very much like that when we were in
yeah.
elementary school. Everybody was talking
I
about
think
it.
this book, at some point, if they do a graphic audio, would be really good. Like help pick up extra things
Yes,
potentially.
yeah.
Because when I did the graphic audio for Fourth Wing, I picked up extra details that I did not
Yeah. I'm
get
gonna
that
buy
first.
If
actually.
you were casting a graphic audio of this book, would you, from the beginning, have the same voice actor for Ravi and Eliune?
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a good question.
I feel like no. I feel like Elian, it would be more of a softer, like
Nurturing,
subdued
yes.
voice. But then you have
Mature?
Reeve, she is hard, she is tough. Like I feel like it would be a different voice.
Okay, so who would, if this was becoming a movie, who would you cast?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know any actors.
You would have to do somebody who has like is like kind of like how Jennifer Lawrence did Katniss, but like she would have to have a softer.
Zendaya.
Oh, I love
That's a
Zendaya.
good one.
She actually, yeah,
She would do a good job
yeah.
because she has both of those. Like you would have to have that like actress that does like both.
Fascinating.
So okay, favorite character.
Reeve.
I kind of
She bit off a dude's finger. Come on.
yeah, I kind of like Khan.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought he was.
I really did.
I was gonna say Khan. I really enjoyed Khan. I also just enjoyed the word moon plume.
And it's a fun word. I enjoyed it.
I wonder how this author came up with these like names
I
because
don't
like
know. I think that I could be creative, but like, I would not come up with things this creative.
yeah. So Amity, one of the themes of this book was social justice. I always feel like Amity's a social justice warrior. What were your thoughts on that?
I did. It made me really like Khan. It made me really liked Ravi. Even
And the sister Vea.
I was gonna
Okay.
say even Violet, like I really liked that they were like, this is what's right. I really appreciated Khan's like resistance and farsightedness to not bring his people into an unnecessary war, even though like it potentially could be good, but then it's risking the safe haven they have now. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed
He was
that
a very
a lot
mature
of it.
character, although he is over 100 years old. So I
He's
would
a
hope at
zillion.
that point you have gained some
Well,
maturity.
he's much more mature than his brother.
Oh, yeah, his brothers are terrible.
So, okay. Overall impression out of 10.
I really enjoyed this book.
I
Is this a
enjoyed it.
9.5 for Lauren?
I'm gonna go with an 8.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Amity?
6 point no. Uh, uh, 6.5 actually. Yes, 6.5.
Steph.
I'll do 7.5. I couldn't
I average out to like a 7.25.
I don't math well.
7.3 repeating.
Three.
While I was reading it, it took me a while to get through, but talking it out, I'm like, wow, this was a really good book.
Yeah.
But like while I was reading it, I was like, I have no freaking clue what's going on.
I am looking forward to the next 2 books in the series, although I'm not looking forward to how long I have to wait.
There's 2 more books in the series. I
yeah,
couldn't figure out how many.
I think 2 more.
Okay.
I think it's a trilogy.
Lauren, I am really looking forward to you reading these 2 books and letting us know what happens.
Okay, I can do that.
Hey, I think I'll have to. What I'm gonna do is I'll wait for the 2 books to come out,
And then you'll just do a reread of everything.
all of them,
Yeah,
and maybe like set a reminder to myself to not read the first third of the book. The first one, though.
Well, but like if you do need to build the world
You
as
need it.
much for book
Yeah, because
2.
then you're gonna have no idea what the hell's going
I'll
on
just
again.
reread our summary. Or
I'm
I'll
sorry,
listen,
Steph, your summary sucks.
I'll listen to our podcast episode.
We'll be on like episode 115.
And Steph's coming back. Just, wow, we really sucked back then.
And like that, it would have to be assigned to me like homework for me to read. Like, and that's why I went with the 6.5. And because like I think it's last episode, with that Halloween book. And I also gave it a 6.5 because like that was a story and I enjoyed the story. We also had a lot of questions And like maybe next October, if I had nothing else going on when the next book comes out, I would read it. But like that's how I feel, except for this book is like a big time commitment. Like it would have to be like,
Yes.
hey, Amity, you signed up for a 1 month sleep study so they can figure out about people going to Mars or something. Then I'd read this book. Like, sure thing, I got you.
There you go.
So what I've gathered is we really, really want everything to be tied up in a neat little bow. And
Yes.
all of our questions asked.
I don't necessarily feel that way because I do love a series. Like I
True.
love I don't I have mixed feelings. I enjoy the suspense of a good cliffhanger.
Yes.
Like I don't need the book to end with a like a pretty little ribbon. I do appreciate when series end with like how the Zodiac Academy sisters wrap up that like 6 months later, 3 weeks after that, 4 months
Like,
after
yeah.
that, 2 years later after that. And you know, you see everybody into perpetuity and like, you know, their kids are okay. Like I very much like that. Um, but I don't want to have logistics questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for our next book.
Okay, I think you guys are gonna like it. I've already read it and the one after, so
Oh wow. It's kind of going back to
Our roots.
our roots. Yeah.
Wild Love by Elsie Silver, who I haven't read a book of hers I didn't love.
Okay, perfect.
The second book in the series I think is a little better. Fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm actually getting on a plane tomorrow to go to DC, so I might actually be reading this much sooner.
I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to Iowa.
Oh, so
I will not be getting on a
Lauren
plane.
was on a plane last weekend.
Oh, I was, and I flew it for 30 seconds and I decided I am permanent passenger princess.
Oh,
Triple P.
oh man.
Love
And
it.
tiny
Every pilot
plane.
needs a good co-captain pilot.
Yes, I'll just be hanging out in the plane. I don't need to fly it.
Perfect.
Yes.
In the back with Porter.
The plane's so small, I can only fit two people.
Yes, it was a
For
Cessna.
now.
No, it's smaller than a Cessna.
Oh no.
It weighs 700 pounds.
Ooh, that feels safe.
It's teeny tiny.
And to be fair, like I don't know that I want a plane that weighs a lot because like then it has to be a lot of upward force.
Yeah. So a little gust of wind and you go very far. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, we'll get into that soon. Thanks for listening to our reviews, rants, and ramblings. Remember, if you also read this book or any others that we've recommended and you review it on Amazon or Goodreads, please include that Shmindle Shmumlimited sent you. And if you would not mind a quick review on your podcast platform or we are on YouTube, we would be forever grateful. Have a great weekish, and we can't wait to read, review, rant, and ramble about the next book with you. Bye.